The NBA season is here. It is finally here. We're about 12 hours away from tip-off, and I want to quickly sneak in my season predictions, and let's start off with a bang. Let's start off with MVP. I have Luka Doncic from Dallas. Yep, right into it. It's a difficult season to pick the MVP. I haven't gone out and picked anything crazy, but I also haven't picked the consensus, but that's because I don't think there is a consensus MVP prediction for this upcoming season. I think there's like 4 guys that you will see on most polls or tallies or prediction videos. We'll talk about the other ones in a minute, but yeah, I'm going with Luka. There's not much you can say about Luka that hasn't already been said about how good he is. For me, the criteria I'm looking for when picking an MVP is I want someone who's going to be the main offensive focus of their team. It's not going to be a co-stars situation. He's going to be the guy. Luka will be the guy in Dallas. I think that's important. I want someone who's probably not going to be resting or taking nights off. Luka's in his prime. He looks really good coming into the season, coming off the Eurobasket and all that. So I think he's going to be in good shape. He's going to be playing 70 plus games this season. He doesn't get injured that often. And you want someone that's going to surprise people. The truth is that it's a human picked award. And because of that, players that just do what is expected will be considered less than guys that do better than expected. Even if their overall quality and performance is the same, if one guy overachieves, the other guy just does what is expected and someone underachieves, they're going to pick the guy that overachieved. And I think with Luka, the Mavs are being slept on a little bit this year. I see a lot of people picking them to be like the 6th seed or even in the play-in tournament. I know they lost Brunson, but they're also getting Hardaway Jr. and Christian Wood. I think that team can still be a 4 seed, particularly in the West, because I don't think all the top teams in the West will be competing night in, night out in the regular season, but I think Dallas will be. So because of that, I think, because it has to be like a top 4 seed, and I think Dallas can be a top 4 seed, and I think Luka can get this award. Other guys I considered were Giannis. He probably came second for me, but truth is, everyone's picking the Bucks to win the title. So you can't really overachieve if you're Giannis. He can do what's expected, or they can underachieve. And I think in the regular season, that is the possibility, because I think they're not going to be trying night in, night out in the regular season. They're just going to want to get to the playoffs injury-free. They know what their team is. They know what their identity is. They know what their schemes are. They just don't want the same thing that happened last year where Middleton gets injured or anything. So they're just going to try and get through the season unharmed. And because of that, Giannis is probably going to be playing like 30 minutes a night. Nikola Jokic. Truth is, voter fatigue is a thing. They're not going to vote for the same guy 3 years in a row until they see postseason success, even though I think everyone knows the reason Denver didn't succeed in the postseason last year wasn't because of him. It was because the roster around him. Also, I think he might take a load off this season. He's had 2 crazy offensive load seasons in a row. With Murray coming back, with Porter getting back, with picking up guys like Caldwell Pope, I think they might see more nights where Jokic is getting like 12, 13 points because he doesn't need to be the main scorer. And whenever he doesn't have to be, I think he will take that time off, try and keep his body healthy. You don't want to, the offensive load he's had, you don't want to be doing that 3 years in a row in the regular season. Embiid, another guy that's been talked about. I just think Harden and Maxey are going to be really good. They're going to have comeback years. I think they're going to be, or not Maxey. I think Maxey's going to continue to improve, and I think Harden's going to have take a leap this season based on what he's done the last couple of years. And because of that, Embiid's going to be sharing the court too many times on offense with those guys. MVP is an offensive award. Those guys are just going to take too many nights away from him, where Harden will go off for 30, Maxey will go off for 30. Because of those, I don't think Embiid's going to be the guy like Luka will be every night. I know Luka has Dinwiddie and Christian Wood, but I think we can agree Harden and Maxey are better than those 2 guys. Other ones with Steph, they're just not going to care about the regular season Golden State. They just want to get into the playoffs and let their guys do their thing. Steph, Clay, Draymond, they're not going to care about the regular season. They're going to play as few minutes as they possibly can to still make the playoffs. That's their goal. Finally, Tatum was another guy. He's a bit of an outsider. I possibly would have picked Tatum, if we're being honest, if it wasn't for the stuff that went on with Ime Udoka. I'm not going to talk about that, but the truth is, the team's in a bit of turmoil. They've had injuries to Robert Williams. I think someone else got injured as well. I forget exactly who. Oh, Gallinari is out for the season. So I think that team is going to be finding its identity for a bit. There's going to be too many question marks around the coach, around all that stuff for Tatum to be able to put a full season together. Because what we saw from this in the second half of last year, he can be an MVP candidate. He just needs to put it together for a full year. Too much is going to be happening at the start of the season. So MVP, Luka. That is my pick for MVP. Rookie of the year. I have a bit of an outsider in this one. I have Benedict Mathurin from Indiana. I hope I pronounced that name right. I've heard a few different pronunciations on different podcasts or shows and whatnot. But for being honest, I don't know heaps about the rookies in this class, so I'm just going to go over this quickly. I wasn't really looking at the player builds because I just don't know enough about those guys and I don't feel confident talking about it. But I did look at the team builds. And I think the Pacers are a perfect team for a Rookie of the Year because you've got a team of solid, consistent role players like Hield for them now, Turner for now, Duarte, Halliburton, on a team that doesn't want to win. So they're not going to be putting the ball in Hield's hands or Turner's hands or these guys that they know what they are. They want to see what Mathurin can be. So they're going to give him everything he wants to take on. Everything he can go for it as much as he wants to. He's going to be the number 2 guy there probably in terms of like the role he gets. But he will be surrounded by really good players. So he's going to be surrounded by spacing. He's going to be surrounded by playmaking. He's going to be surrounded by a bit of defense. Unlike some other rookies who are being thrown into bad teams where they don't have that stuff around them. But yeah, unlike other rookies who are on good teams like Keegan Murray and Sacramento, they want to be competing. So Sabonis, Fox, they're going to be taking away shot attempts for him. But guys like Paolo, he doesn't really have the same spacing. He's not going to have the same playmaking as Mathurin will be. So yeah, he's my pick from Rookie of the Year. As I said, don't know a heap about the actual prospects themselves. Know a bit about him. He seems to be really good. He attacks the rim hard. The shot seems okay. Not super consistent, but decent enough. Don't know what he's like as a defender. I think he's a bit undersized, but because he's going to be playing like the 3. But who cares about defense and Rookie of the Year? Like, no one really does when they're picking that. Other guys that I considered were Paolo Banchero, Keegan Murray, Jaden Ivey. I think, not for Rookie of the Year, I think Dyson Daniels is being slept on a bit. Maybe that's just the Aussie in me sticking up for the Aussie kid, but I think New Orleans picked him for a reason. I think he will get minutes off that bench, and I think he won't be a Rookie of the Year guy, but he'll be a all-rookie second team sort of guy who isn't getting talked about a lot. Moving on, 6th man of the year. This was a really tough one because the issue with 6th man of the year, and particularly the top candidates we have at the moment, is I don't know whether they're going to be coming off the bench for the whole year. So I had to pick the guy that I think is the best candidate that I'm really confident will be coming off the bench for the whole year, and I went with Malcolm Brogdon for Boston. It was really difficult, as I said, but of the 2 guys I trust to be playing off the bench, which are him and the 2 guys in that top tier that I trust to be coming off the bench every night in him and John Wall, I think I just trust Brogdon a little bit more, if we're being honest. I think he's a little bit more likely to stay healthy, and he's not going to be competing for the scoring as much as Wall will. I think there's so many other guys for the Clippers, whereas Boston, Brogdon, he doesn't have to have like the scoring load he had in Indiana because he has Tatum and he has Brown, but he's going to be a bit above the smarts. He's going to get more shots than Derek White probably, than Grant Williams, than these other guys he's going to be playing with. Whereas Wall, he's already behind George, he's behind Leonard. Reggie Jackson probably gets more shots in him. Norman Powell. You got guys like Zubac. You got Morris. Covington, although he will obviously have more of a role than Covington. But Terrence Mann. Like, the Clippers are so deep that I don't know. I think Wall's role will be lesser than Brogdon. And for me, it came down to those 2 guys. Just because, as I said, I don't know who's definitely coming off the bench the whole year, except for those 2 guys out of the top candidates. There's other candidates that I did talk about that were in that top tier for me. There was 5 guys. Shout out to the burger restaurant. It was those 2 plus Christian Wood, Tyler Hero, Jordan Poole. I think Christian Wood comes off the bench the whole year, but I just don't know. In Dallas, plus, I don't know whether you give the MVP and 6th man to the same team. That might come into it, and I've already picked Luka for MVP. Hero and Poole, I think with the contract things that are going on, they've just both got paid like $25 million a year. They don't want to be coming off the bench. You're not paying those guys $25 million a year to come off the bench. I think there's a really good chance we see Klay Thompson get sent to the second unit by the end of the year and Poole is starting. I think it's really, really likely that we see Max Strus or even possibly Kyle Lowry go to the second unit and Hero start in Miami. So because of that, I just don't trust that those guys will be the 6th man for enough games. Other guys I consider Campaign could be good for Phoenix. I think he will be the top scoring option off their bench, and they've got a good offensive system, but he just can't close enough games because they can't play all 3 guards, and if you want to be a sixth man of the year, I think you have to be closing games in the tight contests, and that's not what Campaign will be doing. Kendrick Nunn from the Lakers. I think he's looked really good in the preseason, and I think with Beverly, Westbrook, Reeves, those guys are going to get the minutes before him because of defense and because it's Westbrook. So I think Nunn will be the sixth man, but there's just going to be so much attention in the Lakers going to LeBron and Davis and Westbrook that I just don't think he'll get enough of that. He won't get be talked about enough in the media and on Twitter and things like that to make a real campaign for himself. Other ones I considered were Norman Powell. Same issue as the other guys. I think he's just going to start too many games because not just he could be the fifth starter with Jackson, Zubac, and then obviously George and Leonard, but like when Leonard or PG are load managing, which they will, there's no way Kawhi's playing 82 games, no way Paul George is playing 82 games. Norman Powell is probably the first guy that jumps up into that starting lineup. And I know you don't, I think it's like 30 games is the cutoff from memory, but like even if he starts 25 games, I think people are going to think of him as that, not that true sixth man that always comes off the bench. So I think that will hurt his campaign as well. Moving on. So we've got Luka for MVP, we've got Ben Mathurin for Rookie of the Year, we've got Malcolm Brogdon for Sixth Man of the Year. Defensive Player of the Year. This was a really tough one again, like a lot of them. I think I'm just realizing that this whole thing I'm going to try and do is really tough in picking the season awards, but I went Bam Adebayo for Miami. There are so many honorable mentions in this list, but before we get to them, the truth is Bam is the best switching big in the league. Or it depends on if you consider Draymond a big, because Draymond I think is a little bit better, but Bam is the best switching true center in the league, and Miami is always going to overachieve, same issue with the MVP, and they will always be a top defense. They've got Spoelstra, they've got Butler, they've got Lowry, they've got Cody Martin, they've got enough defenders, they've got that Heat culture, they're going to play defense, and they're going to be a good team. There's just no question about that. My only concern with Bam is that I don't know how much his value will be recognized in the regular season because his value is as a switching big, and that has a spotlight shown on it in the playoffs. Once you're playing these teams like who are just pick and roll heavy, like a Philly, like a Boston, that's when you've got these that's when Bam will be at his true peak value, and I just don't trust that you're going to see that in the regular season enough. But here's my pick, just because I think he's the best candidate out of these guys. Other considerations, Embiid, he came second. I just don't know how good the team defense will be with Harden, Maxey, and Harris starting. I think Tucker will be great for them, but you've got one real good perimeter defender in your starting lineup, in your closing lineup most likely. I do like the D'Anthony Melton as well, but I just don't trust their team defense to be like, I think you need to be a top 10 defense really to be in consideration. Last year they're like 12th or 13th, and this year they're getting like a full year of Harden, and you don't know, like Harden just doesn't play defense in the regular season. Giannis, same issue as before. Bucks can't overachieve, but they can underachieve. They're not going to be trying to put stress on him in the regular season. Gobert, consider that for a long time. Too many growing pains with Cat to start the season. I think by the end of the season, their defense will be really good, but it will just take too long to get there, and the stats will show that. AD for the Lakers, too many health concerns, although I think the Lakers will be good defensively. If you look at that unit and you look at Darvin Ham as a coach, they're going to be competing. They're going to be better than last year, and that's going to be on defense, not on offense. So I could see them being a top 10 defense. And if Davis played 70 games, I could see him winning it. I just don't think he plays 70 games. Robert Williams, injury concerns. Then a couple, Marcus Smart. I think he's going to lose too many minutes to Brogdon and White. I think you have to play more than 30 minutes a game. I don't know if he does. Caruso, I think he's the best perimeter defender in the league, but the rest of the team is just too poor defensively, even though they've got Patrick Williams until Lonzo's back. If you're starting DeRozan, Levine, Nikola Vucevic, I don't think you can be winning Defensive Player of the Year. And finally, Jared Allen, rest of the team, with Mitchell and Garland and whoever they start at the three, I just don't think it's good enough. What they're going to be trying to do is be competitive on defense and then a top offense, and I don't think that gets you Defensive Player of the Year. But yeah, I've got Bam Adebayo. Final player award for this season is Most Improved, and I've got Keldon Johnson from San Antonio. He's going to get a massive increase in offensive load. That's really the core of it. He's a fourth-year player, so it's not like a second-year player who's making a a linear jump. It's going to be he's been like that, and then it's going to be a jump that will be recognizable. I think he's a pretty good player. He's also in a really good system with Pop, where you got a team that's going to be moving the ball. It's going to be creating open shots and easy opportunities for guys like Johnson. It's not someone who's playing this really poor offense where you just have to create your own shot every night. No, he's going to get some easy opportunities, easy chances to score because of Pop, because of San Antonio's system. Fourth year, being a fourth year player, not a second year player, I think will help him a lot. But this was a really tough one. Other guys I really considered was Tyrese Halliburton. He came so close to being picked for me, but the truth is, I think the Pacers are so desperate to get Victor Wembanyama, which I haven't even talked about that, but he has just been insane the last couple of weeks. The stuff he's been doing, they're going to be tanking the whole second half of the year, the Pacers, and if Halliburton's as good as I think he is, they're probably going to give him the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander treatment and just bench him for the second half of the year. So that's going to hurt his case. I reckon halfway through the year, Halliburton's leading the race, and he's just going to get benched or load managed or have a undisclosed injury or whatever they have to do to get tanked this season. Onyeka Okongwu for Atlanta, I think he's going to be really good, and I think he's going to have a really big role by the end of the season, but I think it's going to take too long for that to happen. I think second half of the year, he'll have a really considerate role, but in the first half of the year, he's going to lose too many minutes to Capella and Collins while he's earning that trust. Devin Vassell, exact same issue as Keldon Johnson. You got a team that's got no one else who's going to be taking shots. The opportunity is going to be there. It's a good system. I just think Johnson's going to be a bit better than Vassell. Finally, guys I've seen thrown out a lot of Anthony Edwards, Tyrese Maxey, Zion. I think their growth will just be considered too linear to win most improved. Whether or not you think that's a good statement, the fact that the guy that was the number one overall pick 2 years ago continued to get better when he's got the best defensive center in the league put behind him. What a surprise. The fact that Zion Williamson is good. Shock horror. Maxey is the one guy I could see out of those, but I think by this point, people are already picking him as an all-star. So if he's an all-star, he's not really going above expectation. So I don't know how much that will play into it. He could maybe get it though. But for me, I'm going Keldon Johnson. Final regular season award is Coach of the Year, and I'm going with Nick Nurse of Toronto Raptors. Again, like everything, tough decision to go with. Went with the Raptors because I think they will overachieve this year, and it won't be because of any individual player. When you look at the Raptors overachieving, it will be because of their team and their system and their structures and all those things, and that will be a really good base for Nick Nurse to start his campaign off. You know, other teams that overachieve will be like, look at Dallas with Luka. Look at Denver with Jokic. Look at Toronto with Siakam, Scotty Barnes, Anunoby, Van Vliet. Because of that, I think Toronto, their success will be really heavily given to Nick Nurse, and I think that will help his case a lot. I reckon he'll also run some really unique and interesting defensive schemes with all their wings and forwards. They've got Siakam, Anunoby, Scotty Barnes, Chris Boucher, Gary Trent. They've got a bunch of these bigger wings, and I think they could run these 5 wing units where they're running like zones, where they're running like box and one. They're running with Van Fleet. They could run like just switch everything, or they could put like a rim protector underneath and run these like 4 guys switching. I think they can do a lot of fun things defensively, and I think that'll also help his case. If they get a top 4 seed, I think he gets it. Other candidates, Jason Kidd, I did mention it before. I think he's just going to be overshadowed by Luka. Budenholzer, like with Giannis, I just don't think they're going to care enough in the regular season. I don't think they will be the number 1 seed in the East. I think they'll be like 3 or 4, because I think they just won't. They'll be so desperate not to be injured by the time the playoffs come around. Tyronn Lue, I consider him for a while. Reckon there'll be too many locker room issues with the star players over in the LA Clippers that aren't getting playing time because they've got so many good guys that someone's going to get upset with their role. Someone's going to probably request a trade by the trade deadline. I think those issues will maybe overshadow their season a bit. Once again, I also don't think they're going to have the best regular season. They're just going to try and get to the playoffs healthy. That's their number 1 goal. Finally, Darvin Ham. If he could somehow find a way to get Russ to buy in, he deserves every award you can give him, but I don't think he will. And finally, my pick for the title. I have the Milwaukee Bucks winning it over the Denver Nuggets. So a bit of a surprise for the Western Conference, but the East, I think I've sort of taken the obvious pick. I think it's the Milwaukee Bucks season to lose. They can stay healthy. They've got Giannis, they've got Middleton, they've got Holiday, Portis, Lopez, other guys that I'm forgetting their name right now, but they're just going to be really good. I think they do lack a bit of depth at the wing, but with Giannis, by the time it comes around to the playoffs, you're running a 7-man rotation, maybe even a 6-man rotation by the finals. I think the Bucks, it's their season to win. I reckon they probably win it last year if Middleton doesn't get hurt, but obviously he does, and Boston win in 7. No, that's not discrediting Boston. Incredible season by them, but I do think Milwaukee were the best team last year when healthy. I just love the consistency of their roster and core. They've been there before. They've done it before. That's why I have them winning over Denver, because I think I like a team with the finals experience, with championship experience, which Milwaukee have from 2021. So I'm going the Bucks to win it all. I know it is a bit of a common pick, but there's a reason, and I believe in that reason. Other teams I did consider were obviously Denver. If they're healthy, I have them going to the finals. I think we forget how good that healthy Denver team is, how amazing the ball movement is on offense, how good they can be on defense with guys like Caldwell Pope, Gordon. I think they're going to play really good roles defensively. It will just be inexperience in the end versus experience if it gets to these finals that I'm predicting. Other teams, the Clippers, I need to see it first. They had 2 disappointing playoff runs in a row. Obviously, the second one was because of the injury to Kawhi, so I don't fully blame them for that. But like, the bubble was so bad, and we seem to just be like talking as if there's no injury concerns with the Clippers at all. But like, Kawhi didn't play all last year. We're yet to see him play like a full 70-game season. We're yet to see Paul George play like a full 70-game season, really, for the Clippers. Are we sure John Wall's going to be healthy the whole year? You know, there's a lot of health concerns. There's a lot of team concerns. If they bring it together, yeah, they could totally win the title. No doubt about it. I think there's just too many questions for me around their ability to perform in the playoffs and who's in that rotation and can they stay healthy. More than Denver, because I think even though Murray, there's injury concerns, Porter, there's injury concerns, as long as you've got Nikola Jokic healthy, that will be the key for them. Golden State could win it again. It's a really tight season, especially over in the Western Conference, but it's just what's happening in the locker room. I think they need Draymond, and we know what's happened this past week with him and Jordan Poole, but if you can't get Draymond to buy in, I don't think you can win in the playoffs, because he is the heart and soul and of the defense, and he's what makes that defense work. They can throw him at center and run these switching lineups where Wiggins is really good defensively. Don't take any credit away from him. Kuminga's really good defensively, but Draymond is what makes that defensive system work. He's what makes that offensive system work, because he's the playmaker up at the top of the key. They can get Clay the ball, can get Steph the ball, can get Jordan Poole the ball. So he is so vital to the way Golden State run that if they do come across issues, that could be really costly to them. Boston, they were my pick until the Ime Udoka stuff happened. I think Ime Udoka was more valuable to that team than you realize. The defensive schemes he runs and the way he utilized guys like Robert Williams, that was really good. Hopefully they can continue to do those things, but I think not having a true head coach going into the playoffs, I think that could hurt them a lot. And Phoenix Suns were the last team I really considered, but then I just remembered Game 7 against Dallas and realized, yeah, nah. And they also lost their second best perimeter defender in Jay Crowder. We don't know what they're getting back for him yet, but I just don't think Phoenix are that team yet. Alright, that's going to do it for me. Thank you so much for watching that video. I hope you enjoyed it. Comment below what your season predictions are. Who you have winning the title, who you have winning MVP, all that fun stuff. Don't forget to hit me up on those social media links below. Check out some of the other videos and have a really good day. Adios.